G'day and welcome to podcast number 1. Today's podcast is going to be on profit and non-for-profit organisations and their features. Have to excuse my dog here. He's making a lot of noise. Come here, John. Hello. Hello everybody. Now, go over there. Get out of the way while I get this done. Good boy. Okay, so what we want to get from today's lesson is to be able to explain the difference, essentially, between a profit and non-for-profit organisation. I will give you the key features that you need to know the difference between these organisations on for test and exam and for our working class. Some of the key terms for this lesson are business, revenue and profit. So business is when an organisation provides goods and services to consumers in order to make a profit. Revenue is the amount of money that a company actually receives during a specific period. However, that doesn't mean that they make a profit. It just means that the money comes into the organisation. I'll explain this a little bit more on the next slide. And then we have profit. So it's when the amount of revenue gained from a business activity, like selling an ice cream, exceeds the expenses. So our example here is a little Alphonse. Alphonse is selling ice creams. So Alphonse sells 50 ice creams at $2.50, which yields him, or the money he makes, is $125. We call that revenue. So the business activity is selling the ice creams, and this is the amount of money that's come into the organisation. Now, his expenses or costs, like any organisation, just to keep it simple here, there is rent for $50 and labour. So he pays himself labour to stand at that stall there of $50. So if we then take revenue, which is the $125, and then minus the costs or expenses, we then have the total profit, which is $25. So that's a practical example of those terms that I just talked about. And obviously Harry's ice cream store would be considered to be a business because it does make a profit. So the two types of organisations that we're looking at, the similarities and differences of a for-profit organisation and a non-for-profit organisation. So BH Billiton is an example of a for-profit organisation where the main aim is obviously to make money. This company doesn't dig big holes in the ground and get out the metals and the minerals for fun. They do it to essentially make a profit. And an example of a not-for-profit organisation is the Australian Working Dog Rescue. So I select that today because I got a little chop next to me here. He is a working dog that was rescued off a farm. That's an example of a non-for-profit organisation. So they tend to operate to provide a social, educational, religious, or any other benefit to society. So you're thinking organisations like the Salvation Army, Red Cross, organisations like that. Similarities between profit and non-for-profit organisations. There are many. I'm not going to go into great detail because I don't want to bore you to death in the first podcast. I want to keep it short and simple. So both organisations must be accountable. So that means they must be able to explain their actions to their stakeholders or to the government. Both organisations must maintain ethical standards. That is, they must do the right thing. They also have marketing, finances, distribution of goods and services, and organising of human resources. So that's a summary of the general business activities of a for-profit or a non-for-profit organisation. So, like I talked about at the start of this podcast, we need to distinguish based on key features of these types of organisations. Key features are the objectives, the owners, how profits are distributed, and employees. So a for-profit organisation, obviously like I talked about before, aims to make money. As you can see, the Commonwealth Bank last year made $8.7 billion, where a non-for-profit organisation as a social objective. So, for example, the Australian Working Dog Rescue aims to rescue dogs and protect them or prevent them from being killed or euthanized. The other feature is owners. So, in a for-profit organisation, the owners basically get the profits. So, in the case of the Commonwealth Bank, that's the shareholders. With a not-for-profit organisation, no one really owns the organisation. It's really the people who get the goods and services are probably the key stakeholders there, and you could say, in some ways, own the organisation, but they're not official owners. The other next feature is how profits are distributed. So profits are distributed to owners in for-profit, and for non-for-profit organisations, the profits are used to enhance the organisation, or to linking it back to the objective, to try and achieve their social objective. So, for example, the Australian Working Dog Rescue, and the profits are used to feed the dogs in care, to transport the dogs to new owners, to vaccinate and things like that. Employees, the key differences are, in a for-profit organisation, employees are usually paid. In a not-for-profit organisation, most employees are volunteers. Now, that doesn't mean that there can't be paid employees. Just the majority in most of these non-for-profit organisations are volunteers. Okay, thank you for listening. Please leave any questions at the bottom of the wiki page, and I look forward to talking about some of these examples and issues in class. Goodbye.